Welcome back. You're watching NewsX and I'm Vaishali Kohli. Now, the European Union is set to sign a free trade agreement with India later this month, but without agriculture being part of the deal. European Commission reportedly, EU President Ursula von der Leyen told members of the European Parliament that agriculture was excluded from the agreement from the very beginning, calling the deal a major signal for EU trade relations. Von der Leyen and European Council President António Costa are scheduled to visit India between January 25 and 27 to sign the agreement with PM Modi. If finalized, this would be the EU's largest trade deal so far. While products like dairy and sugar are excluded, the EU and India have agreed to reduce steep tariffs on European wine and spirits. Indian Trade Secretary Rajesh Agrawal had earlier said that both sides are very close to concluding the deal and are exploring whether it can be wrapped up before the leaders' meeting in New Delhi. Bilateral trade between India and the EU stood at 120 billion euros in 2024. Making the EU India's largest trading partner. Very shortly we'll be joined by a senior economist on the broadcast to share her opinion. But this, viewers, is big. The European Union is set to sign a free trade agreement with India later this month, but without agriculture being part of the deal. Now, EU President Ursula von der Leyen told members of the European Parliament that agriculture was excluded from the agreement from the very beginning, calling the deal a major signal for EU trade relations. I have Mithali Nikore, senior economist, joining me. Mithali, welcome. And of course, now the European Union is set to sign a free trade agreement with India later in the month, but without agriculture being part of the deal. How do you see this?
So I think that this is a very practical approach from the European Union because it is well understood that India's agriculture sector is still not, a very, very globally competitive sector because of the constraints that we face in our agricultural economy, the fact that we still have, a massive subsidy system in place. And, it's very practical from the European side to recognize that we are not on an equal footing at this time, with the Western nations. And yet they are willing to engage with us in the sectors where, competition is possible, where trade is more possible. And I think, this itself shows a very, practical and pragmatic approach on the European part.
Mithali, now European wine and spirits are set to gain from reduced tariffs, but what about Indian industries? Which sectors in India do you think stand to benefit most from this deal?
So I feel that the sectors that stand to gain the most, number one is the tech sector. And, technology is one place where we really see a lot of synergies with Europe. For India and Europe to work together on technological advancement, on innovation, on enhancing and embedding digitization in value chains. This is actually critically important for Europe as well because at the end of the day, for Europe, they are not working as much with Indian IT companies as their American counterparts, and they can bring in a lot more efficiency, with the Indian IT embeddedness in their value chain. So even for Europe, this is a good proposition, and of course the tech sector for India as well. It's a massive diversification that we can get away from the US. And the second, of course, is the manufacturing sector, where we know that we need new markets for our products, and even the Europeans need new markets for their products. And again, having value chains that are co-created is the way forward.
Mithali, the fact that agriculture has been excluded, now deliberately or not, what does this say about EU's priorities when it comes to trade negotiations? And do you think that something like this could cause tension with India in the future?
Actually, I believe that this is a very pragmatic approach. I believe that this shows that the Europeans want to continue to engage with us, and the Europeans sort of want a situation where, they continue to engage with India regardless of, the no-go areas that India is proposing. So actually it shows a respect also for the Indian farmers and for the Indian agriculture sector as a whole, to say this is not going to be a roadblock to having an agreement. It's more important to have an agreement. It's more important to have, have a discussion, have this in place, and then only, in the later stages, agriculture can also be brought in. So I think it's a very positive development, and it shows a very pragmatic, outlook on the European EU's part.
Thank you, Mithali, for joining me on the broadcast. Now,